Kansa, wapastem tsikason. So welcome today. Today I'm going to be showing you how to take some of the medicines that we had harvested and how to make some of the medicine tea, maskiki wapoy. And today we're going to be taking the legume or the mint, wild mint that we picked, as well as the wataspamitson, the rat root we picked, and I'm going to be showing you how to make them into maskikiwapoy or medicine tea for colds and flus and stuff like bronchitis and stuff that we traditionally use these medicines and that tea for. But of course, we've got to be very careful when we're making the medicines because we don't want to be hurting anybody or we really have to know what we're doing. With these two medicines, they're fairly common and they're fairly harmless if you use them right. Now, of course, with the legume or the wild mint, it's just mint tea, and we use that a lot in our cold remedies and such. But with that, very safe to drink in a tea. However, with wataspamitson, you got to be very careful because wataspamitson can be harmful if used the wrong way and you use too much of it. So when we use wataspamitson in maskikiwapoy or medicine teas, we use just a little. And for myself, I like to grind it up before I use it in any teas or anything like that. And with any of the grinding that I do, I just use a coffee grinder and I grind them with a coffee grinder. Now, I did have one elder seeing me preparing medicines and tell me that, oh, we need to do it the traditional way and we need to be using traditionally our tapans or our ancestors. They used to use two rocks to grind the medicines together, and we need to do that traditionally. So I was talking to one of the elders that I was Scapios for, and I asked the elder about this, and the elder just sort of smiled and said, well, we use what we have, what's available to us, especially when we're preparing medicines. And he kind of smiled and he said, you know what? If my tapan had a coffee grinder, he would have used a coffee grinder. But he didn't, so all he had was two rocks, so that's what he had to use. And he smiled and he said, I use a coffee grinder any day. I wouldn't use two rocks. That's a lot of work. And he kind of laughed. So I took that as it's okay. We use what we can to make our lives easier. So I use a coffee grinder. So you'll see I've got 3 pieces of wataspamitson here, and they're about 3 or 4 inches long each. And because I do use a lot of wataspamitson, I'm not going to need very much to make this cold maskikiwapoy, this cold medicine. But since I'm grinding some, I'm gonna grind a fair bit of it. So I'm just gonna break it into about 1-inch pieces before I put it in my coffee grinder. And I want to get it as close to a powder as I can, just so it's not only easier to measure when I'm putting it in the tea, but it'll infuse a lot better into the tea, and that medicine will go much easier into the tea once it's ground up. So with me, I've got a heavy duty coffee grinder here. Now you don't need to go out and buy yourself a big fancy coffee grinder. I bought a big one just because I do a lot of work with herbs and grinding them and usually grinding a lot. So you can even just get the small 1-cup coffee grinders and those work just fine. But like I said, I've got a heavy-duty industrial coffee grinder. I'm just going to throw that in there and quickly grind it until it gets as close to a powder as possible, or at least gets broken up. So it's going to get really loud here while I turn on my coffee grinder. And with the coffee grinders, it doesn't take very long for them to do their work. So this is already grinding pretty good, but I'd like to get it a bit more ground. And usually I'll shake it just to make sure the larger pieces settle in the grinder. And again, I'll check just to make sure that most of those bigger pieces have settled. And I've got a fair bit of powder here, so I'm not going to go and completely grind it because we have enough for what we need, but I'm just going to put it in this container here. And I'm just going to separate the larger pieces so I have just those powdered pieces in there. So I don't have to make it a complete powder. So you'll see I've taken out the larger chunks and I've got the powder kind of on one side. It doesn't have to be completely powdered, but enough so that I can measure it easy with a spoon. So right now I've got 8 cups of water boiling here, and it's almost coming to a boil. So I know with 8 cups of water, with all the medicine people that I've worked with and those elders and knowledge keepers that are knowledgeable about medicine, we don't have exact measurements when we're making our medicines. We just use, again, estimations or non-standard measurement. Like with 8 cups of water, I'd always use about a handful of Laboom or the mint tea. So I'm going to take about a handful, evenly a handful, for 8 cups of water. So that'll give me 8 cups of tea when I'm done. So I've got my handful here and my water is just coming to a boil. So I'm just going to put that into the water. And I'm only going to let it boil for about 5 or 10 minutes, because if I leave it too long, it'll start to boil over. After I've done that, I'm going to take about 1 teaspoon or 1 tablespoon, 1 even tablespoon. I don't want to go any more of my Wachasquamitsun because I just want to get some of that medicine working in there and infusing into there. So I've got just about an even tablespoon, and I'm going to put that in with my Laboom. So it's coming to a boil. As I start to see it trying to boil over, I'm going to take the heat down to about a quarter heat. So just so it's simmering, and I'm going to let that simmer and infuse both the Laboom and the Wachasquamitsun into the water, and we'll see the water change color and take on that greenish color from the Laboom. I'm just going to stir it a little just to get that Laboom really moving around in there, as well as my Wachasquamitsun. And I'm just going to let it simmer just for a few minutes. It's just like making a cup of tea. It depends on how long you let your tea sit in the water. It makes it stronger and stronger. So the longer I let it sort of simmer, more of that medicine from the Wachasquamitsun and the Laboom is going to infuse into my water and make a really good medicine tea. And I could see it really starting to sort of turn color now. Give me that color of Iwapoy. So it's just finished simmering. Now I'm going to turn off the heat, because I can notice just using my spoon and seeing that it's got that nice greenish color, telling me that the Laboom, the mint, has clearly infused into my water. And with the Wachasquamitsun, it's not really going to give me a color, but I can tell that it's infused So now, the next step I do is one very important step that we as Nihiawak were taught to do. And I found that a lot of people have stopped doing this. But for myself, I like to honor my knowledge keepers by doing it the way I was taught and the way they passed the knowledge on to me. And with that, with those teachings, with any kind of medicines or we're using to heal our body, we are always taught to give thanks for the medicine. That we give thanks to the plants that gave their lives to give us the medicine. And we always keep that throughout the whole process. So an important part of healing our body, we are told, if we miss the step of giving thanks, then those plants are probably not going to work 100% for me because I'm not showing them thanks. So in turn, they're gonna not be honored. So they're not gonna really give me the full medicine that I need. So I've always been taught give thanks and for the medicines when you use them, and smudge them and give thanks for them. So I'm just gonna do what I was taught. We all have different teachings, but I was taught with any medicines, even my Laboom tea, my Maskikiwa boy, was taught to do that as well. So of course, anytime we're smudging, we first smudge ourselves just to cleanse our body and our spirit. I remove my hat. And I smudge myself. Next, I take the Maskikiwa boy, the medicine tea that I've made, and I'm just going to pass it around the smudge. And I was taught you just go around 4 times and then you hold it clockwise 4 times, and you hold it over the smudge just to let that smudge go into there, and you'll see it getting pulled into there. And I was told while you're holding it, you need to give thanks to the medicines that you've picked and for the medicines you're going to use to heal your body. So how simanto nanastamun hawa maskiki how simanto nanastamun hawa maskiki wapoy how labum kinanaskumtin hawa maskiki how taskumitson kinanaskumtin hawa maskiki how simanto kinanaskumtin hawa maskiki wapoy how musumnanak nukumnanak tapananak kinanaskumtin hawa Amagiwan, how kananaskumtin simanto. Now what I said was, Creator, I give thanks for this medicine. Mint, I give thanks to you for this medicine. Ratroot, I give thanks to you for this medicine. Grandmothers, grandfathers, great-grandparents, I give thanks to you for these teachings. Creator, I give thanks to you for this medicine to heal my body. So I've done my protocol with my tea. Now I can go ahead after I've given thanks. And I think that's an important part because it gives us an appreciation for the plants that we use. Every single medicine we have on this earth comes from the earth. And the healing we get from them has one way or another come from a plant. So we need to make that connection and give thanks to all of these plants who give their lives to heal us and to sustain us. So with my tea now, I've just got a little strainer here and a ladle here because most of the Laboom and the Wetaskiwakmitsun has settled, but you still get little pieces in there. So it's always nice to strain that out. So I'm just going to fill my cup. I may have my tea. Strain that out. and my tea is ready to drink. And you can see the color of it now. So it's, you can see that the boom and the Matasko has clearly infused into my tea. Now, can I add anything in here? Definitely. Like if you want to enjoy the flavor, just because it's medicine, we don't have to make it taste like medicine, if you know what I mean. We don't. It doesn't have to taste bad or bitter or anything like that. So if you want to put some honey in there, like you would with your regular tea, or some sugar, then by all means, because the medicine is still in there. And since we've given thanks and prayed over it, hopefully it's going to help us, heal us from any colds or flu or any kind of respiratory sickness that we might have, because that's primarily what we use this medicine tea for. And I can definitely taste both of my healing plants here. So thanks for learning today and joining me today in making our maskikiwapwe. Kinanas kumten kahkyo.